Hey, welcome back to the Smoke Shack. This is Steven. Today I am bringing you a review on Rocky Patel's Gold Label. Check out the band there on that cigar. And here we go. They got the bottom, really big band here on the bottom. It's an Ecuadorian Habano wrapper, Connecticut Shade Grown and Connecticut Broadleaf binders. So both of those into the binder there, and then Nicaraguan fillers. This is a 5.5 by 50 box pressed Robusto. This really looks phenomenal here. The presentation is really something here. Really a lot of label. For me, it's probably the only knock here for me is that there's a lot of label. I really like how the brown is the same shade as the wrapper. It looks phenomenal. And then the gold really does pop on this cigar. The boxes also look phenomenal. Again, I just think it's a little bit too much wrapper. I do like how we get just a little bit here. Maybe on the bigger cigar, this looks a lot better. With the Robusto, it's covering up a lot of that wrapper. So that's the only knock I have there for it. So a 9 out of 10 here for that presentation. Construction, a 9 out of 10. It's really phenomenal. It's very, very pressed, as in it's extremely rectangular, as you can tell. But with that, very good spring here on the cigar. Fantastic looking triple cap on top. The very top cap is quite tiny, but it is placed on there rather nicely. Really a good attention to detail there on the cigar. As far as the color goes, very, very vibrant color there on the toe of the cigar. A 9 out of 10 there for the color. And then this Vitola here, I do like the 5.5 by 50 Robusto, but I am not a fan of box press cigars, and this is just a little bit too pressed for me. So that's personal, but 7 out of 10 here for this Vitola, giving me a 1.78 out of 2 for the craftsmanship score here for this cigar. Gonna go ahead and cut her open and get this band off here. As far as the aroma goes, the body is very musky, a little bit of barnyard in there as well, and some chocolate. It's rather nice. Wow. The toe is a lot stronger, very, very chocolatey, and a lot of aged cedar in there as well. It's phenomenal. I'm gonna go ahead and dry draw. A lot of chocolate, a lot of musk coming through there on the dry draw. Very good amount of air as well coming through, and a little bit of, or a little subtle bit of barnyard there for that dry draw. Actually, I don't need that because we are just gonna light this up. Wow, this thing is popping a lot of smoke here to start off. Very, very smoky. A lot of resting smoke coming right off there at the char line. As far as the flavors go, a lot of black pepper right here out of the gate. Maybe even a little bit of red pepper in there as well, or some other type of really spicy spice. Some woody tones as well. Even a bit of espresso, but a very well balanced just for lighting it up. So I'm pleased there for those flavor profiles to start off. I'm gonna go ahead and smoke it down towards the end of the first third and then catch you back up with my thoughts here on this cigar. Bringing you back into about the end of the first third of this cigar. The flavor profile here is chocolate, cream, red pepper, baking spices, and earthy tones. It's rather robust here for that flavor profile, but not super rich in flavor. A 7 out of 10 here for that intensity score. Enjoyability, an 8 out of 10. It's really trending more towards a 9, but the draw is just a little bit tight for me. A 9 out of 10 if that draw were perfect, just because these flavors are really good here in this first third. I would just like them to be a little bit more rich for me to get that perfect 10 out of 10. Complexity, very, very well-rounded flavor profile here. A 9 out of 10 there for that complexity, and then the finish here is also phenomenal. Very chocolatey and creamy there on the finish. A 9 out of 10 there. As far as the draw is concerned, as I said, it was a slightly tight there in the first third, so an 8 out of 10 here for the draw. The consistency or the char line there is a 9 out of 10. It is almost perfect, so that's why we got to put it as a 9 out of 10. And it was just maybe just slightly wavy there early on. As far as the combustion goes or our balance here, it's been phenomenal here throughout this whole first third. Even on some very, very well balanced cigars, when you're starting off the cigar, sometimes you just get a little bit of a flavor bomb. Not here with this cigar. I have not had that at all. Very, very balanced flavors throughout this whole first third. The ash structure is a little bit wonky, just a slightly bit flaky there, but quite solid as well. So a 6 out of 10 here for the ash structure. Obviously could be a lot better. The ash color, however, though, it does look phenomenal. Very white there on the ash color. Just a little bit of grayness in the ash. An 8 out of 10 there. As far as the smoke assessment goes, this thing is really smoking well. The resting smoke here is a 10 out of 10. Check out that thing. It is just smoking it up in here. 9 out of 10 here for the drawing smoke. It is just a little bit light on the smoke, not really big velvety puffs that we like to usually have, so just a 9 out of 10. I am getting a lot of smoke though, so that's why it's a 9 out of 10. 10 out of 10 for everything else. That's mouthfeel, temperature, and aroma. The aroma in the room is obviously, because it's smoking so much, it is a heavy aroma here in the room. That aroma is more of a chocolatey, woody scent. Not a huge fan of the aroma, but it is rather rich here in the room for that aroma. First third score here is an 8.42 for this cigar. Gonna go ahead and smoke it down to the halfway point, maybe a little bit past there since this is the Robusto, and then catch you back up with my thoughts. Bringing you back in at the second third of this cigar. Flavor profile changes up a tad bit here. We get the addition of raisin, cedar, minerals, and some white pepper. Still have those baking spices and that chocolate from the first third, but really changes up nicely here. And it does increase in the richness of flavor here. An 8 out of 10 here for the richness of flavor, or that intensity score. Enjoyability also peaks up there because of that, and also our draw now has become more ideal. A 9 out of 10 there on enjoyability. The only thing that would really peak that up to a 10 out of 10 would be if that richness of flavor was higher. That's the only thing lacking there. Complexity, a 10 out of 10, a very, very well rounded flavor profile here in the second third. In the finish here, a 9 out of 10. It's rather rich and long in length. Phenomenal. Draw, like I said, it's back to being perfect. A 10 out of 10 here for that draw. And then the consistency or the char line, it's actually not looking too great now, but this is the worst that it's looked throughout the entire third. A 9 out of 10 there for the consistency. Combustion, or our balance here of the flavors, is extremely well balanced. A 10 out of 10. If I could give it an 11, I would. It's phenomenal. The ash structure, still pretty wonky, but it's getting a little bit better there. A 7 out of 10 there for the ash structure. Probably the worst it's looked is right now on camera throughout this second third, but still a little bit better than the first third. The ash color still consistent with the first third. It is an 8 out of 10. And then the smoke assessment, consistent with the first third. In fact, it's the exact same numbers as that first third. So a 9.13 for this third of the cigar. Very, very good jump there. In fact, that is a 0.7 jump. Very, very nice jump. So I think it really goes back to the richness of flavor there, which peaked the enjoyability, and then also the draw coming into play. Gonna go ahead and smoke this down into the final third and then catch you back up with my final thoughts. Bringing you back in for the final third of this cigar. The flavor profile doesn't change up a whole lot here, but does evolve rather nicely. Some cedar, baking spices, earthy tones are the main flavors there in the flavor profile. Sour raisin, or that raisin that we had in the previous third is becoming a little bit more sour here in the final third. Chocolate, just a subtle amount of chocolate, and some minerals as well in this third. Still very, very well rounded as far as the flavor profile goes. The richness of flavor does peak up here again in the final third to a 9 out of 10. It is really rich here in flavor. 9 out of 10 in enjoyability, just because it was very, very rich, very well rounded, very well balanced, but the burn performance, which I'll get into here in a minute, just was not very good here in the final third. So the complexity, or that complexity of the flavor profile, is a 10 out of 10 here. Very, very well rounded flavor profile. The finish, an 8 out of 10. It does kind of go down a little bit here. It's not as rich or long in length, but still rather rich and long, obviously, to still get that 8 out of 10. Now to get into the burn performance, where this cigar really lacked here in this third. The draw was an 8 out of 10. It was slightly tight throughout this third. Consistency, or that char line, is a 7 out of 10. This is probably a good representation of how this third looked. Just pretty wavy there. Not super wavy, but just slightly wavy there. 7 out of 10 there. The balance, or the combustion here, still a 10 out of 10. Phenomenal balance throughout this cigar. Ash structure, looks like somebody put a stick of dynamite in the middle, or a little firecracker, and blew it up, because this it is going every which way. So a 4 out of 10 there for the ash structure. Really does not look good here. 6 out of 10 there for the ash color. So it does go down in ash color as well. It's a lot grayer here in this final third than the rest of the cigar. It was a lot more white. As far as the smoke assessment goes, really the same that it has been throughout this whole cigar. A lot of resting smoke, the drawing smoke, not a whole lot of velvet in the mouth, or that thicker smoke that you like to have. It's a lot lighter of a smoke in my mouth, but still a good amount of smoke coming out. So a 9 out of 10 there. And then mouthfeel, temperature, and aroma, 10 out of 10. Just really good marks here for the smoke assessment of this cigar. An 8.77 for the final third here of the cigar. The strength here does hit a 6 out of 10. I think the bigger size might hit a 7 out of 10, but really not a whole lot of strength here in this cigar. So very, very rich in flavor for that 6 out of 10 in strength. As far as the third breakdown goes, that first third, we had it scored at the lowest of an 8.42, and then it picks up there in the middle third with a 9.13. Really, really enjoyable middle third there. And actually, the most enjoyable third was probably this final third, because of the richness of flavor and then just the flavor profile in general. But the burn performance really takes a hit here in the final third, which brought us down to that 8.77. Giving us a final overall score of 8.77, which is pretty wild that we hit that average number there on that final third. So pretty unique that both the final third and final score are both the same number. Very, very cool there. As far as our price per point score goes here, these things MSRP for about $17. So for that, the price per point score is $1.94 for this cigar. So rather on the high side there, but a lot of richness of flavor here, and extremely, extremely well balanced with a very, very robust flavor profile. So really enjoyable on my end. Would just like the construction to have been a little bit better here. And then obviously us to hit those flavor notes, or those high flavor marks earlier in the cigar, would have helped the whole cigar, or the cigar as a whole, score better. But otherwise, very enjoyable smoke here from Rocky Patel. If you like the review, drop a like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We're on a push to get 250 subscribers now. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button. We have a cool giveaway coming at 250. Not sure what that is just yet, but we will have that in the next coming days, what exactly that will be. Comment if you've had this Rocky Patel Gold Label. It is a rather new cigar, so I'm not sure if anybody's had it just yet, but definitely an enjoyable smoke. You should definitely give it a try. We'll see you next time here on the Smoke Shack.